Hi everyone, welcome to another video. This week is World Book Day, so I really wanted to share with you some of my favourite nature-inspired books that are guaranteed to get you more out into nature as we approach spring, maybe give you some inspiration to get out. I have 5 books I'm excited to share. Some of them are very foraging specific. Excited to go through these with you today. The first book I wanted to share with you today is The Forager's Calendar by Wright. This book is described as a seasonal guide to nature's wild harvests, and I would agree it really is. You can already see it's well used. I folded down lots of pages, like the spine of the books had looking a bit ancient. What I love about it, it's broken down into actual months within the book. So what you'll find with a lot of foraging books, but they might have a calendar right at the beginning of the book. I wanted to forage and I wanted to know what I could forage in February. I keep having to flick back to the beginning of the book to check what's available in February to forage. What's lovely about this book is that it is chunked by calendar month. We've got a list of what can be found in the month, which he hasn't gone into in detail, but are also available to forage. And then he goes through the different things to find in January. So you've got black mustard here, velvet shanks, wood ears. And he'll talk through them in great detail. So it's not just like a really short snippet. He is honest. And there are certain things that he says, this isn't one of my favourites. It's a lot of people's favourites, but I don't like it because of X, Y, and Z. And I find that insight really helpful. And this is someone who's foraged for a very long time of his life. So I feel like he knows what he's talking about as well. What's maybe not so great about this book is that, so we've got a lovely babylette on this page. There's only one picture of the babylette. Isn't very helpful if you're trying to identify a babylette and you've got one photo to go off. So you can't really use it as a sole means to identify something. Blusher, it's only got 2, sort of one of them upturned. So what this book is surely going to do is bring you closer to nature. Something that I love now is that when I go out on a walk in winter, spring, summer, autumn, I know that there's always something that I can be looking for. Having that relationship with nature in that you know what it is, you know what its uses are, whether it's medicinal, whether it's edible, I could add it to my dinner tonight, that allows you to feel more connected to nature, and it makes me want to get out more when I know that I could be looking for things to eat or treat myself. This was actually my first foraging book that I ever bought, and I love it, and I always go back to it because it's just easy to use. It's a good read. It's not just to be used for identification. As I say, John is particularly funny, and he writes in a lovely way that is just friendly. So book number 2 I'm going to talk about today is Raising Hare. It's essentially a non-fiction book about a lady who lived a very busy corporate life, and she lives in this beautiful remote country house. And when the pandemic happened, she ended up, as we all did, remaining in our homes for a long period of time. And in that time, she actually came across a baby hare, which is called a leveret. And she ends up raising it and ultimately learning lots about hares as a consequence. I found this book so inspiring. Her relationship with nature and the natural world completely changed after this experience with the baby hare. I also think there's just something to be said for, there's always something in nature that we don't fully understand or haven't fully uncovered. She was put in a position where she was confronted with nature and she welcomed it with open arms. And yeah, the wildness of nature, and that we can't control it. It's wild, and we shouldn't try to domesticate it. I think it helped me in particular with this sense of slowing down, this kind of encouragement to step away from the busyness of our lives sometimes. She wrote this so beautifully. So if you're maybe not into foraging, but you're feeling the need to become closer to nature and want to feel inspired to get out there and maybe embrace the wildness of nature, I really do feel like this is a lovely book for you. And it's not very long. It didn't take me too long to read. The text is very big within it. So book number 3 that I want to talk to you about today is The Almanac. This almanac is written by Leendertz. What a gorgeous, gorgeous cover as well. The Almanac is essentially a seasonal guide to the year. This was actually a gift to me from a really good friend of mine, and honestly, one of the best gifts I've ever been given. So this book, it's more than foraging. It's a guide to the month and the season that we're in. What I love about this book is that it helps you to accept, embrace and celebrate the month that we're in. So it takes you through January through to December, and in each of those months it walks through the cycle of the moon, the tides, different things that you can forage in the month. But it's also where I've heard about the concept of the Ogham calendar, which is actually a series that I've started on my YouTube, whereby each month I explore a different tree. Each tree is connected to the energy of the month in some way. If you like gardening, there is a section each month whereby it educates you on how to garden by the moon, which I found so interesting. It is a wonderful book that encapsulates so much. I have felt so much more connected to the month that I'm in and more able to embrace that month more because of this book. I think we so often we rush through to spring and summer, but there are things to love about the autumn and the winter too. I mean, particularly autumn for me is mushroom foraging season, which I'm already so eager for at the moment and want to rush ahead to October, September this year. But no, like there's always something to love about the month that we're in, and I've been watching the snowdrops come up and the daffodils, and I've been watching the cleavers as they grow, the wild garlic which has just started to come up. With that comes grounding, rooted in the moment. Would massively recommend this. I go back to it every month. I'm reading it month by month, so as of today I can start reading March and I'll get some inspiration for how to embrace the month of March and the season of spring. So my last two books are very heavily foraging based, so these two are definitely going to get you super close to nature and may even inspire you to maybe eat some wild food or maybe use it medicinally if you felt comfortable with that too. Book number 4 that I'm going to explore with you today, the Mushroom Foraging Guide. This is by Marlow, Renton and Biggane. If you're familiar with Wild Food UK channel website, they do amazing foraging courses throughout the year. They also, as I say, post a lot on their YouTube. Marlow really is the face of their YouTube channel, and he does a lot of the videography on there. And I found those videos so helpful, educational for me, and it's also lit a fire in me to, you know, really get into mushroom foraging in particular. So what I absolutely love about this book is that it gives you a really in-depth breakdown of each mushroom. So the book is split up into families, groups of mushrooms that they kind of sit within. So you've got the Amanitas in there, the Agaricus, you've got the Billettes. So all the families sit together so that as you become more confident with mushrooms as you forage them or just identify them for fun, you know which section to look in once you have identified the family group that the mushroom sits within. It's super in depth, so in each page you've got a lovely sort of breakdown of what that mushroom looks like, maybe throughout its cycle. It gives you a nice picture of the mushroom from the top, underneath, and in some cases it will show you the mushroom throughout its cycle. It gives you a breakdown of the common names for the mushroom, the flavour of the mushroom, habitat, foraging season, the size of the mushrooms, which I think is really helpful, and because quite often, like when I found my first beechwood sickener, it was tiny and I don't think I realised just how small they were. And there's a nice sort of easy guide to follow throughout the book, so if it's got a tick you can confidently identify it. If there's like orange exclamation mark, you know that there's something maybe you need to be a bit cautious of, and if there's like a red cross, it just means that you shouldn't eat it because it's toxic or deadly. It's a really good in-depth mushroom book if you're particularly interested in foraging for mushrooms. It does not, however, have any plants in it, so you know it's not a book I've particularly picked up at the start of this year because there's very limited mushrooms that you can forage in January and February. It does have that seasonal calendar at the beginning, but it does mean that you have to constantly flick back and forth. Book number 5 that I'm going to talk to you about today is the Foraging Pocket Guide. So this is by Marlow, Renton and Biggane again. This book in particular is great because it gives you a breakdown of plants as well as mushrooms. I would say this is sort of your holistic approach to foraging. It kind of has everything you would sort of need as a beginner forager in here, and anything that you're probably likely to want to pick. But that's the reason I bought this book, is because it covered plants as well as mushrooms. I trust these authors. I know that this book is going to be in-depth and reliable. It is very much done in the same fashion as our mushroom book. in that it is sort of broken down by sort of groups. It doesn't have the seasonal calendar at the beginning, as the mushroom book does. Mushrooms in this book, it, for instance, has its own section, but there is also a section on trees, on plants, any of those sort of key mushrooms that you're likely to want to forage as a beginner forager in this book. So rather than maybe getting the book that is all about mushrooms, unless you're obsessed with mushrooms like I am, I would probably recommend that you get this book because it is just a bit more condensed. I would say this is a good all-rounder for beginner foragers. Foraging, as I said right at the beginning of this video, for me just it gives me so much more to my lunchtime walk that I have, having a break from the busyness of working. I work at an office job, so that lunchtime walk for me is then just magnified and so much more enjoyable because I'm able to identify the different plants and mushrooms that are coming out within the month or season that I'm in. And that for me is super grounding and just so exciting. It's like a treasure hunt. You never know what you're going to find on your walk, and there might be something that's edible, there might be something that's deadly that you've never found before, and that's cool too. I mean, who doesn't want to identify a deadly plant? This is probably an all-rounder book, along with maybe the John Wright book, because it's that little bit more chatty, a little bit more informative approach. This really is a guide that you could take out with you. What I would say, both of these books, is that they are quite heavy. So if you are going to take them out with you, saying there's so much dense information in here, they're going to be heavy. Thank you so much for watching this video today. I hope you have felt inspired to maybe read something new, inspired to maybe get closer to nature as we move into spring and this new season, and hopefully that feeling of inspiration, wanting to be closer to nature, carries you through every season this year, carries you into summer, autumn and winter. You feel like you can accept that season for what it is. Yeah, let me know if you purchase any of the books that I discussed today. I'm going to be linking them all in the video description for you. Or let me know if you've already read some of these books and what you think of them. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and happy World Book Day. Thank you. I'll see you next time through the Ivy Gates.